In this project called Mass Surfaces Topography, what I've done is I replaced the topography by placing a planting marker, kind of a simplified planting marker, on the actual topo surface, and then using that to create a mass form. You see, if I go edit in place, you'll see that it's actually made up of 3D splines that are connected to make the overall form of the terrain itself. It's grossly simplified, but it's the reason for me doing it is that if I'm going to use a tool called the Ecotech Wind Tunnel, it won't recognize topo surfaces, but it will recognize surfaces that are mass surfaces. So if I bring this up for study, you can now see that I can look at my site. If I do the right mouse key, I can actually orbit to look at the model itself. And if I adjust the height for the position of the data slice, you see that I can raise it and lower it so I can see my site. And I'm going to position it just so that it cuts through the trees and the building. Now the next thing that I want to do is, if I scroll down here a little bit, if I look under the model display, you'll see that I can choose to depict the area up here as either the frequency chart or the windrows. And so there, what I'm seeing, if I just turn this a bit, is there's the windrows for the entire year. I can see where my prevailing winds come from. Now it's a little hard to do, but if you click on it, sometimes I need to have it highlighted and then click on it. And you see that by dragging this around, I can change the direction of the wind, and I can change the force of the wind, so that if I position it right here, that would be like the average. Most of the wind over the course of the year is coming from that direction at that force. So what I'm doing is setting it to match that, and then I can look at my study here, and I would let that play through a bit until it stabilizes, so I can see where the areas of shade from the wind are, and where the wind is actually being tunneled and increasing in frequency. So let me just kind of take this a little step further, which is that if I wanted to look at my detailed wind analysis, if oh, I didn't have that set. That's the whole. That's for the whole year. In fact, it was right. So let me go back to detailed wind analysis. If I wanted to limit this just to, say, the summer months, I can drag this to, let's do it for June, July, August, by adjusting the times there, and I'm getting pretty much the same results. You saw the windrows adjust as I changed the time, so it's still from the south. If I go back in here, I can make my adjustments. Clicking on this area, and I can make my adjustments to wherever I want this to be, and then look at the results here. So if I were thinking about ventilating the building, I'm seeing the value of this south facing slope. If I'm thinking of the winter months, I might well be thinking about where should I be placing tree cover. Let me just turn that so you can see it a little bit. So let me stop there. Okay, so just picking up on the wind tunnel, the other thing I wanted to show was that this is a two-dimensional slice, and I can adjust the direction and position that slice any place I want through my site. But the other thing that I wanted to show you was, let me switch this back to horizontal, is that I can tell it I want to do a 3D analysis, and I'm going to come down and say I don't really need to see the 2D slice anymore. I'm doing the 3D analysis, and then down under the 3D volumetric, I'm going to change this to where it says flow lines. And under the flow lines, thinking of those as the boundaries of my site, I can decide which boundary I want to make active, that I'll see the wind as it travels through that boundary. So I'm just going to go with the option that was the default, so you can see how this looks. And let me just make sure that I'm going to turn off, so I don't need the displace values in 3D. I don't need to see the grid lines. I'm switching off everything I can here just to, so 3D, full 3D. Oh, sorry, here, I need to switch that on. There's my option now. So now I can go back to my settings. Now that I know what I'm seeing, I can go back to the flow line settings and say, well, actually it's probably this one that I'm turning on. So if I go OK, I can see that as it moves through my site. If I use my right mouse button, you see I can actually turn it to look at and zoom in a bit, look at my site in a bit more detail. And quite possibly I want to just reduce the number of arrows that are showing on this. So if I go back to my settings, I could say reduce the number of lines here, apply that. That'll simplify it a bit, and now I get a better idea of the wind flow around my building.